Well, welcome to the first episode of Homebrew How-To. Maybe you're a veteran homebrewer and you've been doing it for years. Maybe you just started and you're looking to be more creative in homebrewing. Or maybe you've never even brewed your first batch of beer. Well, either way, you've come to the right place. You're really going to enjoy this series. I'm Reese with Draft Top, and I'll be your host for Homebrew How-To. Now, Draft Top had a phenomenal year in 2020, and we want to thank you for coming on the journey with us. All the way from NASCAR to the launch of 2.0, so many great things happened, and we thought, how could we give back in 2021? One of the ideas that came up was helping homebrewers achieve their dream, and we thought we'd make a YouTube show out of it. So that's how we came up with the idea of Homebrew How-To. Now, we knew we needed some experts because I'd probably brewed a batch or two in my life at a friend's house and really didn't know what I was doing. So I knew I'd need some professionals. So we got the lead brewer here at Tradition Brewing Company, Brian Martin, to come alongside of us, go visit some home brewers, and give us some pro tips. We also thought we would get a home brewer veteran to come alongside of us too. So we got Twan Bowie. He's the owner of Brew and Bottle. He's going to give us all the tips of what these guys are using and how they're doing it. With the three of us going to see these guys, it's guaranteed you're going to learn something new. But Brian and Twan came to my garage to teach me how to brew a batch of beer, so let's look at some highlights from that brew day.
Today we brought Reese over the 1 gallon Brewer's Best equipment kit. And you can get this at your local home brew shop. And it contains everything you need to brew your first batch of beer, aside from ingredients, obviously.
All right, so kicking off, we have our beer ingredient kit. So make sure you pick one of those up. And we got our pots. We can boil or wort.
All right, step one. Once we get 1.5 gallons of water into our pot, we're gonna get our heat going right here on the burner, and we're gonna get our ingredients going. Right now we have our steeping grains that come with our kit here. We're gonna pour it into our little mesh bag so we can steep it, and what I like to call sort of making tea.
Alright, so there's a few different types of brewing when we start out home brewing. What Twan's got here today is what we call a partial mash kit. So most of our sugars are coming from dried malt extract, DME. So somebody else has done the work for us on the back end to get those fermentable sugars extracted from grain. We're also going to take our specialty grains and steep them. So that's what Twan's over there doing now. When he's steeping those specialty grains, what he's doing is he's pulling the flavor and the color out of those grains, but no fermentable sugars. So he's got those grains in a little muslin bag. They were thrown in at the beginning of heating that water up, and he's going to take them out before the water hits 170 degrees, so we don't pull out any tannins or other nasty off flavors for our finished product.
So we do not want to squeeze the bag. Just let it drain on its own. And now we're waiting to get to a boil so we can add our extracts to it, and we'll have wort after that.
So one of the things I wasn't aware of with this process is that smell. Definitely smells better at the end.
So now we've steeped our grains, we've got our wort back to a boil, and what we're going to do now is mix in our dried malt extract.
I'm going to turn down the flame so we don't get a boil over, and it doesn't scorch the bottom, because extracts like to go straight to the bottom if you don't continue stirring. We make sure that none of it settles to the bottom so we don't burn the bottom. And we'll turn the heat back up and get it back to boil. And then we'll start our clocks.
Alright, so after we do our grain steeping and then add our DME, we're going to start doing our hop additions. Our first hop addition is going to be 3 grams of Columbus. That'll be in there for a total of 60 minutes. That's where we're going to get all of our IBUs and our bitterness from for this American brown ale.
All right, we're at a boil. Brian's gonna drop some hops. I'm gonna start the clock. It's a 60-minute boil, but we're gonna boil these hops for 45 minutes before we drop the next set of hops. So now it should smell a little bit more like beer.
It does.
45 minutes after that first edition, we'll do our second edition of Chinook. Hops that are coming later in the boil, we're to get less bitterness out of, a little more flavor and aroma. 10 minutes after that second hop edition, we'll do our third and final edition. Another 3 grams of Columbus that'll boil for 5 minutes before we turn that burner off. Timer just went off. We got our third and final hop edition here. Another 3 grams of Columbus. Notice we're keeping the lid most of the way on, but we got a little crack there. That's preventing it from boiling over by having that little vent there, but the lid is still helping keep the heat in so we can get a more vigorous boil and have the flame turned down a little lower. Alright, so it's been 5 minutes since we did our last hop, so we're going to kill the boil. So I like to keep our pot covered as soon as the flame goes out. We got that covered up. Kill our propane. Get our ice bath set up, start cooling this off, and move it to the fermenter. Boom. Draft top 2.0. Alright, so we're going to toss our pot into our ice bath here. Normally we want to do this in like a stainless sink, not a plastic bucket, but we modified our process here a little bit, some better lighting, and get it all done in one spot. So we're going to go ahead and throw this in our bucket of ice here. Let it cool off a little bit already, and get our second bag of ice going in. What you're going to be doing at home most likely is as you're sanitizing your fermenter, just kind of using that sanitizer to clean all your equipment. Little pro tip though, isopropyl or your sanitizer in a spray bottle goes a lot further, it's a lot easier. So what we're going to do is just spray down our thermometer, make sure it's nice and sanitary, and see where our temperature's at. Been a long time since I've used one of these, bear with me.
Let's get going.
What we're going to do now is take a gravity reading, figure out how much sugar we actually have dissolved in the wort here. We're going to fill our hydrometer tube up.
There we go. Starting to float.
Let the hydrometer float. Seal our fermenter back up.
So we're a little over 1.06.
Alright, so our final step is going to be to add our yeast. The Brew's Best kit here came with Lallemand American West Coast Ale, BRY 97. That's basically all we're going to do. Again, at home you probably have your bucket full of sanitizer to soak everything in. That's perfectly fine. We're just going to spray everything down with Seti, make sure it's nice and clean and sterile.
Sterilization is critical at this point because your beer is at a temperature it's susceptible to any type of growth that could get into your beer.
Just going to pour in. Now we'll sit and wait. Come back in 10 days or so, take a gravity reading, make sure fermentation's done, and then we can get to packaging.
The toughest part of brewing right here. Patience.
All right, so it's been some time since our brew day, and now it is time to see what this beer tastes like. I am a little bit nervous. You guys pretty nervous?
No, I'm excited.
No, this is a normal thing for you guys. All right, we got our draft top Kanga cooler. Shout out to the guys at Kanga. And then we have our canned beer. I want to thank Brian. I know usually we would put this in a bottle as a home brewer, but Brian can conditioned and set us up, and we let this sit for a while, and now it's time to open it up and taste it. So guys, you pop those draft tops open. Let's get into these beers. Oh man, that's a good color.
Smells great.
Oh yeah.
Twan's still working on his.
You filled them a
One
little.
hasn't followed the YouTube channel to see the proper way.
You filled them a little full, but I think that's kind of normal for you brewing beer, right?
That's what we try to do.
A little aggressive.
Try to make sure. Squeeze from the bottom.
A little aggressive.
Now, different kind of cans do different things. Twan's got the Gorilla Grip over there, but he got the job done. Looks delicious. All right, so brown ale. What do you think?
It turned out pretty good for a couple of new guys brewing in a garage, right?
One new guy brewing in a garage. So now we're going to tell you a little bit more about the Homebrew How-To series. So these guys have committed to help us. We're going to go to a number of different homebrewers. We're going to look at their setups. We're going to watch them on a brew day. These guys are going to give you some pro tips during that process. So if you're super new to brewing, you saw us just go through a brew day, and it wasn't that complicated, and actually it was a lot of fun, and you get a great product. If you've been homebrewing for a while, maybe you'll pick something up. We're going to see a lot of different types of homebrewers. Twan, what do we have to look forward to on the different types of homebrewers?
So just every type of brewing, home brewing that's out there, from a gravity-fed system to a brew in a bag system, to an engineer's dream, to what some homebrewers have set up, to your sort of minor pro 3-kettle system. So they're all out there.
And then what we'll do is the winner will get to brew a batch of beer here at Traditions with Brian. You pretty excited about that, Brian? That'll be the first
fun to have new
ever
brewers in the house.
Homebrew How-To beer on tap here on a release day. So we are super excited about that, and we're looking forward to the next episode. Cheers.
Cheers.